Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Newsbrowse News broadcast. Global news reports that Prime Minister Mark Carney's newly appointed Advisory Council on Canada, the U.S. economic relations, is set to confront the controversial Canada-China electric vehicle deal. This agreement, which grants Chinese EV makers access to the Canadian market, has provoked strong reactions in Washington, with concerns that it could jeopardize the renewal of the Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement, CUSMA, and lead to U.S. auto tariffs. Industry leaders like Brian Kingston of the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association described the deal as a vehicle-sized irritant, warning that American counterparts are questioning Canada's alignment on China policy. Charles Burton, a former diplomat, voiced strong security concerns, labeling Chinese EVs as spy machines on wheels capable of collecting sensitive data for Chinese state security agencies. Conversely, former Canadian ambassador to China Guy St. Jacques suggests that China's significant role in the EV market cannot be ignored, proposing that Canada could leverage Chinese manufacturers to set up local production with high Canadian content requirements, thereby mitigating potential job losses. Canada is taking steps to develop its own sovereign space launch capabilities, moving away from reliance on foreign nations, particularly the United States. Transport Minister Stephen McKinnon introduced the Canadian Space Launch Act, which aims to authorize, regulate, and oversee domestic space launches and re-entries. McKinnon stated that this legislation is intended to foster a Canadian commercial space industry, potentially valued at $40 billion, and reduce costly delays and dependencies on other countries for sending Canadian satellites into orbit. He emphasized that Canada, the only G7 nation without its own launch capability, needs this to fully realize its potential and maintain leadership in spaceflight. The announcement follows the recent successful Artemis II mission, which included Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen, highlighting Canada's existing contributions to space exploration and the growing desire for greater autonomy in space activities. Global News reported on this development. Federal politicians in Canada are dismissing recent disparaging comments made by U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick regarding Canada's negotiating position ahead of major trade talks with the U.S. and Mexico. Lutnick reportedly stated on Friday that Canada's strategy of attempting to delay negotiations for a better deal later on would be bad, adding the blunt assessment: "They suck." He also conveyed U.S. President Donald Trump's belief that the current Continental Free Trade Pact needs to be reimagined and criticized Canada's pursuit of increased trade with China. In response, Dominic LeBlanc, the Canadian minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade, indicated that Lutnick had not made such comments to him privately during their recent extensive conversation. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre also weighed in, characterizing Lutnick's remarks as merely more bluster. This report is from the Canadian Press. Global News reports that Ontario Premier Doug Ford has defended his government's recent acquisition of a $28.9 billion Bombardier Challenger 6 with 1000 prologen melly. It's might announcing cause imminent sale due to widespread public criticism. Ford stated he was inundated with calls urging him to keep the plane, which critics had dubbed the gravy plane. The premier expressed regret only for his communication of the purchase, not the purchase itself, emphasizing the necessity of such an aircraft for government travel. He recounted experiencing terrifying commercial flights to northern Ontario in small, turbulent planes without amenities like bathrooms. Ford also shared an incident on a commercial flight where a passenger allegedly got into the rocket fuel and verbally abused him. Opposition leaders, including NDP's Marit Stiles and Liberals' John Fraser, dismissed Ford's explanations as a pity party and shtick, demanding he focus on pressing issues like healthcare and affordability. Green Party leader Mike Schreiner insisted Ford should cover any financial loss if the jet sells below its purchase price. Marineland has issued a statement denying reports that it requested a loan from the federal government. This denial comes despite a government source, speaking anonymously, confirming to Global News that such a request was indeed made. The source stated the loan was intended to assist in the transportation of Marineland's remaining beluga whales and noted the company's unwillingness to disclose its financial records. The potential loan amount was described as a low 8 figures, potentially upwards of $10 million. Animal Justice, an advocacy group, has criticized Marineland's alleged request, suggesting public funds would be better directed towards a sanctuary and stating that private companies prioritizing profit over animal welfare should not receive public funds. The news follows a January announcement from Fisheries Minister Joanne Thompson, who stated conditional approval had been given for the export of the belugas, pending further information from Marineland. In January, Marineland had also claimed it would be forced into bankruptcy or to euthanize its animals if an immediate federal bailout was not provided. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.